Welcome to Good Goobyes, the Funeral Facts podcast. We are really glad you found us. In this podcast, me, Simon, a funeral director,
and me, Tina, I'm an independent celebrant.
we're going to discuss all things funeral in an informal space to demystify what happens when we say goodbye.
Based on your questions and queries, Si and myself are two industry professionals that are going to chat through the hows, whats and wherefores. We actively work in the funeral industry in Devon in the UK. So, we hope you enjoy the episode ahead. Welcome to Good Goobyes. Hello, welcome to Good Goobyes. This is Tina.
And this is Si.
And this week we are talking about family disagreements.
Fun.
Wow. We've all got a family, haven't we, Si?
Haven't we just? And we know that families can be tricky things. And when grief gets involved, it only heightens that, unfortunately. It can be a very, very difficult time for families that don't necessarily see eye to eye in the first place.
Yeah. And I would say a lot of my skill that I bring to being a celebrant is about negotiating and navigating through some of this and getting to a place where everyone feels heard, but at the same time, we are respecting the deceased and putting something together that feels about them and not about everybody else's agendas, which isn't always that easy, actually.
Yeah, and it's something that in your role, you'll see right there in their front room, and it's difficult. And it's something that I see quite often when we're sat around a table making decisions about what we're going to do. It's so hard to be fronted with 20 decisions to make. And it's ultimately on one person. So a funeral director can only have one client. So one person to take responsibility for the payment, one person to sign the application for cremation or for the application for burial, one person. That in itself can be a hard conversation to have, regardless of anything else. It should be next of kin or executor. They're not always the people that are around. They're not always the people that want to do it. So it's not an easy subject at all.
No. And in a similar way, I would be doing the same. Who is the primary client? Who is going to pay for this if they've commissioned me independently? And certainly if I've been commissioned by the funeral director, I'm going to be predominantly working with the person who is the client.
Yeah.
And that, that has, sometimes it's really straightforward. And the client will be being really inclusive and saying, oh, I didn't get on with my sister-in-law, but you know what? If she wants to add a few words, it's fine. This is not the time to be churlish about how I feel about her. So you get people who kind of are on a bit more of an even keel around that.
Yeah.
And you get other people who are like, absolutely not. She didn't come to the last two Christmases and we're not doing that. And,
yep.
And you're like, okay. I think what you'd find, listeners, is that most funeral directors / ministers and celebrants would try and persuade you to have an open heart and would probably say something along the lines of, I know it's really difficult, but if you could find your way to including them, that might feel better in the long run. You can still say no to us, but we might make a suggestion like that.
I think it's important to be caring. Ultimately, our care is we're looking after the deceased as well. We have to try where possible to help people understand that service is about the person that's gone, not about the people that are left. So it doesn't matter if you didn't get on with your brother, it's his mum as well, or whatever combination it might be. We've had a service in the past where the client actually probably shouldn't have been the client, but they were the next of kin. So our hands are a little bit tied there. You have other people saying, well, I should be doing this. Well, you haven't instructed me. You wouldn't be the next of kin anyway. I can't have you tell me what to do or what we're going to do. I can only ask the client if that can be involved or for them to have a conversation with you. And it's really hard. It's really difficult.
Yeah. I mean, I, in the past, have been in such a tricky situation with a family, and they have been adamant that a certain close family member is not coming to the funeral. And the person in question who wasn't allowed was so distraught by that I sought permission from the family to see them afterwards at no additional charge, and to go and just spend some time with them and explain what was in the service.
That's really nice. That's really, really nice.
And they were reluctant to do that, but they did allow me to do it. So we did the service, and then I went to someone's home, and we sat in their front room together, and we lit a candle, and I virtually just talked them through what had been in the service.
Yeah.
Because it just felt uncomfortable for everyone for them to physically be in the same room together. And I've thought on an offside, like, what is the solution to this kind of problem?
Doesn't exist. Isn't one.
I know. It's really tricky. And,
yeah, I've done this 15 years. There is no answer to that. And I'm sure there are longer standing funeral directors than me that have been saying this for 40 years, 50 years. There will always be disputes. There will always be people that don't agree on what should be in the service, shouldn't be in the service, who should be involved, who shouldn't be involved. That is just the human condition, I fear.
Yeah. And I think, like you say, we can ask people to rise above this feeling in this moment, because in the long term, it might feel better. But if people don't want to do that, then that's not going to happen. And if you're listening to this and you're, a funeral professional, this will be, just what you have to try and manage as elegantly as you can, really. And stay neutral, which is really important. We don't know the ins and outs. We don't really know the backstory of everyone's point of view. And people could have very solid reasons for feeling uncomfortable with each other. And so we have to stay very professional and neutral. And the only solution I've ever thought to this is maybe the gift of the webcast might be a gift in an instance like this, and that we can say to families, look, I know you don't want these people in the room, but if you could see your way towards putting this on a webcast, they will be able to view from a distance.
Yeah. And we use a platform called Much Loved quite a lot on our funeral services. We put the webcast link up on there. We also upload the order of service to Much Loved, so that people that aren't able to attend can see the order of service. They can see and kind of have a record of what's going on. And I think that inclusion is pretty good, actually. I think being able to feel like you're there, feel included in that service, both visually, audibly, and having an order of service in front of you, for a lot of people would tick the box whether they were in the room or not, actually.
Yeah.
So there's no harm in that, and they're pretty cheap now as well. I mean, I think Exeter crematoriums are one of our local. I think it's 55, 60 quid for a webcast. Not a lot of money, really, in the grand scheme of things for a funeral, certainly. So maybe you take any bad feeling and any risk out of the equation and spend 50 quid. It's got to be worth doing, isn't it?
Yeah. No, I think so. And, I will put in something in the show notes, which is something I used to share with my professional colleagues when I was in a hospice nurse role. And it's a little YouTube video about family drama. It's called Family Drama, Hospice Family Dynamics. And it's about the things that crop up at that stage, as well as what crops up later when people are arguably forced into a room together because of a situation, i.e. a death or a funeral.
Yeah.
And these might be people who, normally have decided that they don't wish to be in a room together. So, that's kind of what everyone is trying to manage, really. I suppose the only additional things I would say is, if this has troubled you and surfaced a lot of difficult feelings, then a good thing to do would to
Having some audio issues.
To seek some counselling for yourself, or maybe get a bit of extra support if it's really felt difficult.
That's a fair thing to say. I think, going back to what I said, families will always be families. Not everyone sees eye to eye on everything all the time, unfortunately. And we've just got to, as we say at the end of quite a lot of our services, be there for each other, support each other. It's not easy, but sometimes it's the more important thing to do.
And fellow celebrants and folks, and I'm sure this is something that you do, is often I will ask the question, is there anything about the family dynamic I need to know?
So very tactful.
I thank you very much. So sometimes that will allow people to say, well, so, or there's an ex-wife and she may or may not come, or things they want us to know, which is quite useful.
Yeah. Don't keep it until the last minute and there's a baying mob outside because you've been telling them they're not allowed in. We didn't know about it.
Yes.
That is less than ideal.
That is very true. And, certainly Si and I have both been in situations where, family members have been craning their necks, looking back and saying, yes, she's here. Who said they could come? Someone at the back of the room is trying to manage all of this in the moment when you're just trying to be in the room. Remember,
I've had a family who put 3 obituary notices in 3 different newspapers and then complained to me that there was someone there that they didn't want there. I'm sorry. What exactly am I supposed to do about that?
I mean, that is the other difficulty, actually, which is really worth mentioning, Simon, is that, most funerals and services of this nature, they're not by invitation only in a literal sense, because many people will have put those notices either in newspapers or on Facebook, or the word goes round. And last year I heard in passing that a colleague that I had a lot of affection for had died, and there was a service, and I was free at that time and day. And I was just going to go along, and then I thought, well, I better check this out. Is it okay for me to go along? I mean, my first instinct was to just go. And then I thought, actually, I need to maybe check that it's okay to go.
Was it okay to go?
It was okay to go. But I thought, the family might not want a church full of everybody. No, they might have had a different, because the information was secondhand to me. If I'd have read a Facebook post that said everyone's welcome, then maybe I would have thought, oh, great, everyone's welcome. But maybe if you are uncertain, it might be a good thing to check out. And the funeral director and everyone associated with it will be able to let you know the answer to this question. But there we go. Welcome.
Absolutely. That was a really, really good episode. We covered a lot there. A lot of food for thought because, it's families are tricky things. We know that. This is not new news. But ultimately, you're there for the person in the box at the front. If you can, for half an hour, just be present for that person, regardless of who else is there, I think you'll come away feeling a lot better for it.
Very good point. Thank you, Simon. Thank you, everybody. That's been really interesting. And we will see you again next time.
Take care.
You've been listening to Good Goobyes, the Funeral Facts podcast. Please do like, subscribe, comment and share. Drop any questions on our social media, on Instagram, or in the text option in the show notes.
Si and I are qualified professionals, but we always advise our clients to seek any additional support from medical practitioners if they need to. And we hope you enjoyed this episode. Stay well and be kind to one another.